It's the FCS CheckDown. Yeah, baby. Nate McCreary, Coach Ron Jackson joining you. Hopefully Brandon will be able to jump on here shortly. We have a great show. This is our Illinois State dedicated show. We had a great time last night with Coach Brent Vegan and Bill Lamberty. Giovanni joined us, a fan of the FCS. We greatly appreciate everybody's checking the show out. I mean, we had 600 something this morning. I mean, we really are cooking as far as the fans go. But great to see Ron Lowney in the chat already. If you are going to check out the show live, make sure you're liking and subscribing the show. If you like to the show, it is free to do. We want you involved in the chat. If you got questions for us or if you just got comments, you guys hold us accountable. Matter of fact, Coach Jackson, I got absolutely cooked for using AI for some of the graphics, and so hopefully today's will be a little bit better, but we'll see, and I hope the Illinois State fans hold me to account. This is the Illinois State show. Super excited to be talking about this program because I tell you what, they're a fun football team to watch, Coach.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and literally had fought their way. Talk about get it out of the mud.
Yeah.
That's what they've done. I mean, they're the epitome of that blue collar workmanship and just eyes forward, keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is right in front of them now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and while we're waiting for Brandon to join the show, hopefully he can. He had some great questions for Brent Vegan last night, and so he brings the heat. But let's go ahead and talk about this 2025 show. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it in the chat saying he liked the show last night. You guys make it. I do read the graphics. Thanks, man. Thanks for bringing it up once again. I appreciate it. Oops-a-daisy. But see, there's Brandon's spot. We're waiting for him. Coach, so 2025 Illinois State RedBirds, what a historic campaign. They're going to make their second championship appearance since 2014 in the FCS championship. They lost the one, I think it's 2014, against North Dakota State. Brock Spack is going to join us here shortly, is the head coach there, came to the RedBirds in 2009. They finished 12-4 overall. They faced a challenging schedule. They had Oklahoma on their schedule. As a matter of fact, their quarterback, Tommy Rittenhouse, got knocked out of that game, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, there might be something going on there. But he was able to return the following week, but man, they found the rhythm. They're doing such a good job. They stumbled against South Dakota State there in the midseason. Then North Dakota State beat them, and then they had that last season, end of the season loss to Southern Illinois. And that means they're on the road for every single playoff, Coach Jackson. In the round number 1, they defeated number 16, Southeastern Louisiana. This is an unranked team as far as Illinois State, unseeded team. They defeated Southeastern Louisiana, 21-3. Then had to go on the road to North Dakota State. What were we thinking? North Dakota State's going to cruise. Illinois State goes in there, and it's a 29-28 victory for Illinois State. Then they head on to UC Davis on the road, knock off UC Davis 42-13, and then the semifinals, they knock off Villanova at their home 30-14. What a road warriors type squad this is, Coach Jackson. They've been extremely fun to watch, and we'll get to talk about some of these players like Tommy Rittenhouse and Victor Dawson here and Daniel Sopkowitz, their wide receiver. But just overall here, what are your thoughts about this Illinois State squad?
Well, remember last year, I don't think they made the playoffs last year, and kind of expected to. They were pretty good, and we kind of thought, you know what, maybe it was just a year early, and boy, I think we were right there. the thing that what the this year's team means to me is literally consistency. They prepared themselves for the championship. They played a fantastic out of conference schedule. They wasn't afraid to go to the bigger schools. They've been challenged. They played a couple of a double overtime game and had to come out on. They played everybody. They've taken on all comers. I saw a statement from maybe a quote from Coach Spack a little bit earlier today, where he said that, you know what, we would go on a roll, we'd stub our toe, we'd go on a roll, we'd stub our toe, and I think we found a way not to kind of stub our toe. We've got it together now. So uh, they're also the recipe for success. Their
Hmm.
coach. I mean, how long has he been there? 15 years.
Yeah, he's been there since 2009. So
Yeah, he's been there a while. He and literally consistency is what breeds winners and breeds championships.
yeah,
We talked earlier about how they're built to win against a team like North Dakota State. They wasn't outmanned in the trenches.
that was the
So
first thing you
literally,
texted me, by the way. You said, "Hey, Illinois State is handling this North Dakota State squad in the trenches," and that was a surprise for us.
yeah, yeah, they got a good man. The running back that they've got, I can't think of his name, but
Yeah,
dude,
Victor
he's a
Dawson. Hmm.
yeah, and it looks like another running back that was hurt a little bit earlier in the season. It may be back
Yeah,
for
Rinkers Wright is
the
the other. Yeah, yeah, who got a lot of
yeah,
carries
might
and
be
did
back
get
for the
nicked up,
championship game.
which
Yeah,
which
so
is huge.
yeah, dude, that's huge for uh, Montana State's going to like to run the ball. Illinois State is going to like to run the ball. You're in for a slobber knocker game, I believe, but they're built for that.
Yeah,
And last point I'll make is they're also a senior laden team. So they've got a bunch of upperclassmen that know how to get things done. A lot of them, it may be their last rodeo, so maybe that comes into play. Might play a little bit harder or whatnot. I think we're in for a fantastic game, um, which I wasn't sure about when the playoffs just started. But
yeah.
Cinderella is here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's really, I mean, there's no doubt about it that Tommy Rittenhouse has led this squad. I mean, um, it has been a fun thing to watch. The kid's thrown over 3,000 plus yards. He's got 3,257 yards. He's got seven rushing touchdowns, 36 touchdowns overall. I mean, he's just been such a valuable piece to this football team, and he's played such minus the 5 interceptions against North Dakota State. He's matured. There's something about him that's different here in the final 5-6 games of the season, Coach.
Dude, he's fearless. When's the last time somebody threw 5 interceptions versus North Dakota State and won?
Yeah, no
And
doubt
and
about
and
it.
and and literally when they scored the tying touchdown, he first one puts up 2 fingers. Let's go for two.
Yeah,
He he's the energy that flows through that team. Everybody he puts them on his back every single week. Um, he is obviously he's got to play well for them to win on the fifth, but he is I mean he's what makes that team go. He's a terrific leader. He's electric.
yeah.
Instead of Rittenhouse, maybe his name ought to be Tommy Fearless. Um, but literally, he's what makes that team go. So I expect him to play. And literally, if he makes a mistake, they all pick him up.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know what I mean?
really that's really what good teams do, right?
Yeah, yeah. Especially good senior laden teams. They're going to go out there. I feel sure they're going to lay it on the line. The other thing is, I can't imagine that Illinois State's not going to empty the playbook.
Yeah,
This is the kind of game to me that feels, and I ain't telling no secrets. It feels like there's probably a trick play that they've been practicing for since the beginning of the season that's going to
yeah.
come into play at some point in time Saturday. I just don't know when, or on the fifth. I just don't know when it's going to be. But I would be willing to bet that there's a situational trick play that they have that'll come to fruition next Saturday.
Well, Tommy Rittenhouse is just one piece of this offense. Victor Dawson quietly has become a very, very good rusher here in the FCS. Primary ground target, 1,251 yards, 5 touchdowns for him. You mentioned Rinkers Wright, who got nicked up and hasn't been able to play, but if he can return, you got a dual threat there back there. That is huge for Illinois State. But the run game against that really tough Montana State defense, if you can find 2-3 yards ground and pound it out and hold on to the time of possession, I think you're in a much better position to win this championship.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent strategy. Who's the receiver that they've got?
Yeah, Daniel Sopkowitz, yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious! Talk about a lit where he's supposed to be on time every time. He's one of the more dependable receivers that they've got. So again, to me, run, play action right across the Sopkowitz, touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got Brandon joining us here in the chat. Let me get Brandon set up here to come aboard as we've got Coach Spack joining us here shortly. Mike Williams, the SID, is also going to be joining us here for the Illinois State dedicated show we've got here. Super excited for the show we got. We also have a fan, Tyler Gall, is going to be joining us later in the show as well. Super excited about that as we get Brandon Joseph in here. And Brandon, how the heck are you? Let me pop you up here. There you go. Great job last night, by the way, with Coach Vegan and the questions you asked him. I rewatched it this morning, and I was just like, I'm blown away. It was a fantastic job, and the questions you asked him, I thought really brought great answers from Coach Vegan.
Fun interview. I think, not a lot of people, and especially in the podcast world, gets a chance to talk to coaches. I think it's a testament to what we've all tried to do with this podcast and make it respectable. And I think, it shows, and that's why we get, head coaches and SIDs are more than willing to hop on and share their head coaches with us. So it's a credit to our listeners and the intelligence that they bring to the podcast, and to you two as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me tell you,
Wow.
just reaching out to some of these SIDs and getting them on board is, it may take a little time, but the reality is that you get the opportunity to talk to some of these coaches and bring forth some inside information, and that's really what drives us. Is we want to know about these teams and get to, because the stories are fantastic. As a matter of fact, we're going to bring in the SID for Williams joining us here. Mike, thank you so much. You were quick to respond to my request to talk to Coach Spack on championship week, and I know it's a tough ask, but thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for putting this together. We're excited to talk to you.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. And if you hear some buzzers going off in the background, I'm also covering women's basketball because I am the SID for that right now. So we're in the mid fourth quarter. So if you hear some buzzers going off, I apologize. But multitasking, that's what happens when you're playing almost in January.
Well, that is why, and I undervalued and underpaid is what I say about SIDs. People have no idea of what you guys have to do on a day-to-day basis. Here's basically championship week, and you're having to divide your time into the women's basketball program. And I'm sure you're happy to do it. It's the love of the game. It's the love of the sport and the athletes and the coaches staff. But first, let's stick to what we've got here in front of us, which is Illinois State facing Montana State. This is 2025 season for Illinois State has been an unbelievable run. Just kind of give us an idea of your perspective of what it's been like to watch this team from the training camps all the way here through the playoffs.
It's been a great year. Coach Spack said at the beginning of the year, and I've learned after working with Coach Spack for 17 years that I don't doubt the ball coach very often, but he saw something in this team that I don't think a lot of people saw early in the season, especially on the defensive side, where there were so many new starters. So I trusted Coach and watched this team, and I told a bunch of people I thought this was like an 8-4, 9-3 team preseason when people were asking, and sure enough, that's kind of where we ended up. It wasn't the way I thought we would end up. It wasn't the 8-4 that I thought it would be, or the 9-3 I thought it would be, but I thought that's kind of what this team would be. But these guys have outperformed, and especially after that, drubbing at Southern that nobody predicted, this team has really turned it on and bought in and fought together and believed in each other. And I think that's what's made this run so magical, because they've been underdogs, have been on the road. They've been, nobody's picked them except maybe people here in Normal to win these games, and maybe people inside the football building. So it's been a great run. It's been really fun, and hope it continues one more time down in Nashville.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the things, and we'll get Brandon Joseph. By the way, I'm in Atlanta, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Brandon is a little further north in Brazelton, Georgia, and Coach Ron Jackson's in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. We are in that southern realm of the FCS, and it's kind of fun to get this perspective of, we hear about the Montanas and the Dakotas and the great football that's out there, but Illinois State in Indiana, they bring some great football, and it's kind of in the spotlight this year. What's it like being an SID in that region of the country where football is kind of up and coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Indiana story in particular. I mean, that's been unbelievable. And really, University of Illinois is just 45 minutes away from us, and they've had a pretty good last couple of years under Coach Bielema. So I think people realize there's a lot of really good football in this region, in the state. Obviously, our team is predicated on a lot of guys from the state of Illinois, but we have guys from Wisconsin and Indiana and Iowa and Missouri and then, branch out from there, obviously. But I think that's what our guys, pride themselves on. I think they want to show that there's really good players in this state, and they want to show that guys from this area can be big-time players. And you look at our roster, our starting quarterback is an Illinois guy. Dan Sobkowitz, who's one of the best receivers in FCS football, is an Illinois guy. And I can go on and on and on from there. Our starting middle linebacker is from right here in town, and he's a consensus All-American. So I think there's really good football players here. And, yes, a lot of the good ones probably go to Illinois and maybe some of the Power Fours, but there's still a lot of good players that are going to play well, especially at this FCS level.
Well, Mike, your job is to tell stories about this football team and about these players individually. What's maybe one of your favorite stories that have come out of this 2025 football team?
Like I said, I think the defense is something that people aren't talking about enough. 8 new starters at the beginning of the year, and I think any team that looks at that's going, man, the offense was all back. Everybody knew kind of what to expect out of them, but nobody knew what this defense was going to do with some transfers and some guys that were stepping into roles that have been here, not necessarily young guys, but guys that maybe haven't had a ton of experience. So I think and it took them a while. Yeah. When you look at some of the early stats in some of those games, that defense was taking their lumps, giving up a lot of yards, a lot of points. But really, I'd say probably in the last 8 games, they've really gelled and come together. And I think it's one story that people aren't talking about enough, because if you look at the numbers just on paper, you're like, that's not that great. But if you really break it down to the last 8 games, it's pretty impressive. So I think that's the best story for me. There's obviously a lot of individual stories and guys that have, the offensive line has had a bunch of bumps and bruises, and starting left tackle goes down, and Jake Pope, who's a 7th-year guy, everybody, calls him grandpa. He goes from right to left and solidifies that, and other guys kind of step in there and do that. So, but Coach Spack says it all the time. If you're going to have a special season, you're going to have to get performances out of guys you weren't counting on at the beginning of the year. And I think this team has certainly done that to get them to this point.
Obviously, we're going to talk.
Mr.
Oh, go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Mike, I said I wasn't going to ask a question. Then something come up, and I'm going to try and put you on the spot just a little bit. So don't let me get you in a whole lot of trouble. But you mentioned it a minute ago, 17 years working with Coach Spack. That obviously he's a special guy. Tell me what makes him so special right there in Normal, Illinois, and a person that you'd want to work for 17 years like that.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky that I was hired to back. I'm an alum, so first and foremost, I love this place more than anything. But when I got the opportunity to come back and take over the football job with this new coach, I took that as a fun challenge, to build a relationship and learn what was important to him and what made his program, or what was going to make his program a success. And Illinois State really hadn't had a ton of success. I think 3 playoff appearances prior to Coach getting here, and 7 since. But he's just so no nonsense. He's hard nosed, tough. What you would think a Purdue linebacker, was back in the day, and somebody who coached for Coach Tiller for as long as he did. But, you know, on our initial meeting with Coach, when I first met him and stepping onto campus, he said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. He says, I'll jump in. I'll let you know what I think is important. But he says, we're going to get to a point where you're not going to have to ask me to do stuff, and I'm not going to have to ask you to do stuff. And it took about 1.5 to 2 years. And ever since then, it's just been in lockstep. You know, he's the easiest coach, and people see him. He's this tough, gruff ball coach, you know, old school guy, but he is the easiest coach I've ever worked with. I don't think I would have stayed here as long as I have, even though I am an alum, if I hadn't had a chance to work with him. I'm part of his family. I know his family. I'm part of his coaching staff. He calls me coach, even though I've never even remotely coached a single down of football in my life, other than maybe some flag football for my kids. So, you know, it's just, it's funny. But it's been a great run, and I'm, you know, he's just the best. He's really reinvigorated this program, and for an alum like myself to watch this program become what it's become is extremely gratifying.
You know, you mentioned you guys being in lockstep. Every coach would love to run their program in a silo and not worry about anything on the outside getting in. But this game, being in the national championship game, nothing is normal, no pun intended, for you guys having to go to Nashville to play this game. Just talk about some of the stuff you guys have had to go through. I mean, Coach Spack has a lot more media he has to do, especially when he gets to Nashville. Podcasts like us reaching out, begging to have him on, altering his schedule. Just talk about some of the stuff that you guys had to, you know, navigate through. And was that a conversation of, okay, we need to just hunker down and try to keep the focus on the X's and O's, or is all this other stuff welcomed?
Now, 2014 helped with that when we made that national championship run. Obviously, that was, you know, 11 years ago, and there's not as much media, there's not as much podcasts, you know, as there is now. But it was crazy back then. So we kind of knew that once we got into about the quarters, maybe into the semis, especially after we beat North Dakota State and all the attention that came along with knocking off the Big Bad Bison, we knew this was coming. So I did. I talked to Coach after North Dakota State. It took about 2 seconds. We went, "Yay, hey, Coach, we got to go to media." So it's he knew, you know, he remembered on his birthday in 2014, he did 5 interviews, and I had no idea it was his birthday. I wasn't paying attention. We were just we were doing national radio hits and all kinds of stuff. And we had a thing where he was coming back later that night, and I said, "Coach, okay, you got this thing at 6:30. He goes, "Okay, I'm going to go home and have dinner with my family for my birthday, and then I'll see you later." And I was like, "Coach, I'm so sorry." I felt so bad. I had no idea what day it was. We were just grinding, trying to get our name out there and do as many, because we don't get national exposure like this very often for football. So I looked at him in 14. I said, "We're going to take every advantage as long as it makes sense, and it's somebody that covers the, you know, the division and somebody that knows what they're talking about. We're not going to take every single thing that comes our way." But he said, "I trust you." He goes, "If it makes sense to you, we'll do it. We'll figure out a time." And he's been great with it. And we've done that in this run too. He's said no very little times. You know, if it works within the schedule, we've pretty much said yes to it.
Mike, Brandon and I got a chance to be around on the broadcast team for Kennesaw State as they started their football program in the FCS, and got a chance to do some traveling. And being around the team and the SIDs and the coaching staff and the players, especially through a playoff run, you start feeling something different. And I wanted to see how, from your perspective, knowing you're going on the road, unseated, and having all that's in front of you seem like an uphill battle. What has that been like from a story writing perspective? Because coming out and throwing 5 interceptions against NDSU and picking up the win 29-28, the story writes itself. You kind of want to avoid the 5 interceptions part, but the win, how has this team felt through the playoffs? And are you able to kind of feel that momentum continue to build throughout each victory?
Yeah, I think, you know, even last year we went on the road and won a game, you know, at SEMO before going to UC Davis. So I don't think the road thing was even a consideration, especially our team's been so good on the road the last 2 years, 15-3 overall, with 2 of those losses coming to FBS programs. So we're 15-1 on the road against FCS opponents in the last 2 years. This team knows how to win on the road. So I don't think that was big. Now, obviously, when you knock off the Bison, that's a whole different ball game. But, like Coach said, you just knocked off the number one team in the country. What makes you think you can't win these next two games when we were at UC Davis and Villanova?
Yeah.
So this team had all the confidence in the world. But after that North Dakota State win, I think this team really went, oh man, we're not just here to win a couple games and go home. We're here in the long run on this. And the guys have just believed it every single time. They're like, nobody can beat us on the road right now. We're as good of a team as anybody. We beat the number one team in the country, so why not us? And that's kind of been the mentality the whole time.
Well, we got one final question for you. Then we're going to bring Coach Spack on here. And my question is, what player have you kind of latched onto and kind of been able to tell a good story about them? Every team has these stories that kind of go unwritten and talked about, but who's a player that you've maybe latched onto and have enjoyed watching their journey as Illinois State RedBirds have pushed through this 2025 season?
Yeah, I think Wanker's Wright's story is one of the most amazing stories in college football, and it's not getting enough attention. And I hammer it every single time I talk to these ESPN production crews prior to the games. But Wanker's was adopted out of Haiti and adopted by a family in Southern Indiana. Is literally the best kid you've ever met in your life. Always has a smile on his face. Graduated with his undergrad in 3 years. So he's literally everything you want in a college athlete. But then he's gone through so much injury wise. Both shoulders have been banged up. He's had a knee, he's had an ankle. He's had about every injury over the last 2 years. And yet you look at his numbers, he's almost been a 3,000-yard rusher in his career. That's just unbelievable. Unfortunately, his shoulder's been bothering him all year, and it's hampered he hasn't played much in the playoffs because of that. But his story is just, he literally told his story. He goes, I remember playing soccer with my brothers on gravel in an orphanage in Haiti. I mean, like, who does that? And then for him to be the type of person that he is says a lot about, one, his adoptive parents and
Sure.
the type of people they are, but two, what kind of kid he is. He just works hard. He's a leader. He's all the guys just gravitate to him, and he's just one of many. There's a lot of stories, but Wankers he's one of my favorite athletes I've ever dealt with, because one, he's never said no to me, and he's never had a bad attitude with me.
Yeah.
And he does whatever you need, Mike, and that's gold to an SID, because we all get down. We all have bad days. We all have bad games, and I get it when a guy after a game kind of barks at me a little bit
Sure.
and says, hey, I don't want to go to the media right now or whatever, because I get it. They're ticked. They're mad, but he's never done that. And honestly, that's the one thing I can say about this team is there's not very many of those guys on this team at all.
Wow.
This team is very cohesive. They all have each other's backs. They all get it. They just understand the assignment. They get what they're trying to do and get what the coaches are trying to do to them. So I think it's been great. And like I said, that this is a very different run. The 14 run, everybody kind of expected them to be there. That team was really, really good, was a top 8 seed. Everybody expected that team to be in contention and have a chance at the title. Nobody expected this team other than us. So
Yeah, love it.
If they can get it done, it would be unbelievable, fantastic, Cinderella, underdog, whatever you want to call it. It'd be an unbelievable story.
Well, Mike, first of all, I really do appreciate it. I believe truly you guys are undervalued and underpaid in every aspect of the word. And you just putting this together so quickly and be willing to come on the show it's a credit to you. It's credit to Illinois State for having you on board, and we just really do appreciate it. I thank you so much. Best of luck. Safe travels to Nashville, and we look forward to speaking to you guys hopefully in the near future.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, and hope you enjoy your talk with Coach Spack. He's a treasure.
I know he will. That is Mike Williams, the SID for Illinois State, as we transition to the head coach of the RedBirds. It is Coach Brock Spack. And, Coach, I tell you what, you got a good SID on your hands there. 17 years seems like a pretty loyal servant there.
He's a great guy, and love Mike. He's like one of our staff. He's Excellent, and always can count on getting good information from him. He's a really good guy.
Coach, one of the first things I wanted to see, and I hope you can see the screen. This photo right here is what a football player looked like when I was growing up. This is, and I think I see a mustache in there, maybe behind the face mask. What do you feel when you see photos like this from your playing days on the field with your coaches, staff? It seems like this was just a true representation of what football really was all about back in the 80s.
Yeah, I love looking back, my playing days, but really enjoyed the teams I've had here at Illinois State. But yeah, it's fun. I'll do a little bit more of that when I'm retired. But yeah, it's hard to believe when I watch these guys run and hit and make plays like that. It's just hard to believe I ever did that. And
yeah,
but I did, and it was never thought twice about it. And it was a great time in my life, a great experience, and. A lot of people talk about my name. I think my mom had a premonition I was going to be a football player.
Yeah, Brock Spack's a great name.
Yeah, I made the all-name team, and so I got some fame thanks for that. And
I love it.
But it was, it's kind of my destiny. I was going to be a coach. I was going to play as long as I could and coach. But yeah, those were great days.
Before we
Coach, you don't have to take it from Nathan. There were color photos available. It's not like you played in like 1954. It was the 80s.
Brandon.
We had color photos back then.
Yeah,
Brandon, I'm trying to bring this.
Make the black and white just brings a little different touch to it. I think.
Yeah,
I know that tackle twill jersey that tears away is,
3/4 jersey
time too.
All that stuff. Yeah. Remember
yeah,
those
Coach.
days?
I know that 8-pack was looking good.
Jerseys.
Yeah.
But ADs are with tearaway jerseys now.
I know, no doubt. Well, who was it that inspired you? Who introduced you to the game of football, and where did your career in football take off, and when did you know that coaching was in your future?
Well, that's a good question. When I was a little guy, probably 5, 6 years old, I remember during Thanksgiving and Christmas there'd be football. There's a sand lot, actually empty lot close to our house, and I would go out and play with the older kids, and they'd let me play, which was nice. And my dad was a basketball guy, but he said, you shouldn't be playing full tackle football without pads on. And I said, I'll be all right. And he 2 years later, we fudged something because you had to be 8 years old to start in the junior tackle league in Rockford, and I was 7. And the coach says, we'll figure it out, and we'll let him play. He's able to protect himself. He'll be fine. So that's when I started, and
wow.
I loved playing and played until I was told not to play anymore, and then I got into the coaching, and I was cut in the NFL, and my position coach there was actually had a great idea. I just got married. My wife, we were married in June. I was in training camp in July, and it was mid-August, and Purdue was starting their training camp, and they held a spot open for me as for to be a GA. And Coach Tubbs at the time, our linebacker coach at Dallas, said, you'd love for you to come back and do it again next year, and like to have you in town. High school football in Texas is great, and I think you'd love coaching here, and we could use our facilities and train. And I said, Coach, I think I want to go and start my career as a coach. This was great, and I appreciate it, but I got a GA job there if I got cut, and so I wanted to. I'll probably just do that, and I went home and went back to Purdue. And home is Illinois for me, but went back to Purdue, and that's my adult home, and started my career. I GA'd for a guy named Joe Tiller, and he was my defensive coordinator my senior year. Really liked him, and he was kind enough to leave a spot open. We wouldn't do that today. No coach should do that today. And that's how I got started. Ironically, he was interviewing for Montana State. He's a Bobcat, and can't remember if I was at Wabash College yet or if I was still a GA, but he alerted me that, and didn't get the job for whatever reason, and wasn't very happy about it. But I just remember that, and he really helped me launch myself. He said, "Well, Coach Spoo, who was was our quarterback coach, is from Chicago, and I'm from about 90 miles or 80 miles northwest Chicago on the Wisconsin border, and so I'm kind of like Chicago guy. And he's going to get the Eastern Illinois job, and I think he's going to hire you. I think you should take that job." I said, "Okay." So that happened, and off I went. And then 4 years later, I went back to Purdue as a linebacker coach, and I went back to Wyoming as a coordinator. Then when Coach Tiller got the job at Purdue, I came back with him as a coordinator at Purdue from Wyoming, and then came here. So I haven't been in a lot of places. I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong profession. I don't like to move. I'm not really. Obviously I like to make a good living, but I'm not really motivated by money. I'm motivated by winning and having an opportunity to be successful and be around good people. And I thought when I was at Eastern, if this job ever came open, I was the right age and everything lined up, I think this would be a good opportunity for me. I think I'd fit well here. And it has been. My wife grew up 2 blocks from Purdue Stadium. Her father, I never met him. He died before I met her, but he was one of the first 2 vets that started the Purdue Vet School. And then my mother-in-law was a professor there, so she's born and raised, and all her brothers and sisters went to school there. So, but I remember us walking our golden retriever chase about 8 years ago, and she goes, "You know what, Brock? This is the best town we've ever lived in."
Yeah.
And I kind of looked over at her. I said, "Man, coming from you, that's a lot." But I do agree with you. It's been a great place. I haven't really found anything that tickled my fancy to move on. I thought this was where I should be, and it's kind of my destiny, And I've really enjoyed it here, and we've had some good teams. I've had a lot of good players. Enjoyed the players a lot, and worked with good people. Great community. Just been awesome. But it's kind of me in a nutshell. It's 43 years of coaching now. I think it's 43, maybe 42. Can't remember. But yeah, I've been doing this for a while, and wouldn't do anything else. Love it.
Well, I can tell you this much. We've enjoyed watching the football team, and we're going to get into a little bit of some players. First, we got to start with your quarterback, Tommy Rittenhouse, who's just done such a great job. And it seems like he got injured there in that Oklahoma game. He's come back, showed some resiliency. He just looks like he's locked in over the last 5 or 6 games. Obviously threw the 5 interceptions against North Dakota State, but got the job done. Talk about that young man, his leadership, and what he brings to your offense.
He's really a fabulous leader, and I will tell you, even more than that, he's one of the toughest kids I've been around in football. I mean, I've had a lot of good players. Obviously, I've had a lot of NFL guys that are great players and who are really tough but really talented guys. And but he's just he's this gritty, tough competitor. It's kind of a little side story. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but his parents were seniors at Purdue. Drew Brees' senior year when I was there as a defensive coordinator, and Tommy being a quarterback, we recruited him during COVID, so we couldn't see him. Obviously, we couldn't go see him, and he couldn't get down here. So we actually recruited him sight unseen. And Breeze is one of his heroes, or if you will, and
very cool.
And I had Drew talk to our team about a year after COVID. He did a Zoom like this and talked to him. And the kind of guy he is, he's he said, "I'll coach out 20 minutes. That's all, 15, 20 minutes, Drew." It's okay. That's great. So he pulls the car over. An hour later, he's still going, and he was awesome. And I know Tommy really thinks a lot of him because everybody at Purdue thinks he's the sun rises and sets on him, and he's even a better person. He was a player, and he's a great player. But got a little bit in him. Breeze was an undersized guy. He had a very accurate arm. He beat computers in his accuracy. He's just a really accurate thrower. was a great competitor, and I see a lot of that in Tommy. Tommy, when you look at him, he doesn't look like much. He doesn't look like a big time football player, but he is. He's just tough. He's a good athlete. He can run. He runs really well, actually, and he's quick and sudden and can throw on the run. And he's done a really good job with his arm talent. He's really improved. He works hard in the weight room, and he's just really improved his arm talent from where he was when he came here. And Tony Peterson, our quarterback coach, has a lot to do with that. Tony played at a high level. He won a national championship at Marshall. And he's a very good quarterback coach, and he's done a really good job with and he expects a lot. Tony's a demanding guy, and this guy is the perfect guy. That's the perfect guy for Tommy. Tommy wants to be pushed. He wants to be called out when he's not doing things correctly, and these guys have got a pretty good relationship with all that. So really been impressed how he's developed. He's become a really good player. Didn't know if he'd be where he is right now. Thought he'd be a good player, but I think he's turned into a really good player, and I'm really proud of him. He's a diabetic, right? I think and he don't tell anybody I told you, because he gets really mad at me when I bring that up. So don't bring that up. But we
won't tell anybody, Coach.
Yeah, please, just between us. He wants to be known for being a really good football player, not because he has diabetes, but it's just, I said, time is part of you. Yeah, it's part of you
journey.
Are. Yeah, you're tough and you fight through all that stuff, and it's such a great story. And I said but his career here has been kind of amazing. And I'm gonna tell you what you said was really really apropos for North Dakota State, which I have. All of us have a great respect for them. We played a national championship back in January 15, that 14 season.
Yeah.
And we're the first two schools to do that from the same conference. And we're kind of tied at the hip because of that game. And I got a really good relationship, I think, with their press and their coaches. And I really have a lot of respect for them. But they're just the epitome of toughness and done a great job there. So, but to beat them, I'm telling you, to beat them the way we did is unheard of. You throw 5 interceptions against them, you're going to be beat by 50.
Yeah.
And he was, and I would always tell him earlier in his career, he'd get frustrated. He's mad at himself. He gets frustrated himself. I said, your guy Breeze now. One thing he never did. I'm just telling you, I'm not a quarterback coach. I'm a linebacker coach, and I coach defense. But having coached against him and played against him in practice and in all those years of scrimmaging against him, he will never stay in a funk. He will pull himself out of the tailspin, and the guy is amazing about that, because a lot of quarterbacks can't do that, and he did. He pulled himself out of that, and I don't think I've ever seen a player do that to those guys, especially a team that's that good, and you make those kind of mistakes, and the first 3 were tipped, and
sure.
They're good plays by their defense. They're good plays by their defense, but they're tipped. It's kind of bad luck too, but he could have said, you know what, I gave him my best shot. It wasn't meant to be, but he grit his teeth. He bit his lip, and he got after it, man. I mean, I tell you, he was really good down the stretch, and pulled himself out of a tailspin, and I've really never seen anybody be able to do that against them. Really our team just came alive in that game, and we just played really, really well, and it probably launched this. Mike's probably right. It probably launched us into where we're at now, because that's the standard, in our conference in this part of the country. So, and Tommy Rittenhouse did that. He did something I thought was impossible to do when it comes to making mistakes against a great football team.
And he's got a chance to be on the national stage. I'm sorry, Brandon. Yeah, he's got a chance to be on the national stage, and I think that's great for him.
Yeah, this is I think this is what he's, I don't think I know this is what he's always wanted. He's worked hard at it, and there's a lot of people have told him no. A lot of people have said, I don't know if you got it. Whatever it is, and he's been out to prove him wrong, and he's had an amazing run. I hope he's a really good, he's a really religious kid, and I know he knows God's on his, God's going to be with him, and he has been with him his whole life, and he's going to be really good. I'm really excited to see him play Saturday. I mean, it's not Saturday, it's Monday night. So.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, and Coach, going back to the North Dakota State game, and you guys play in arguably one of the top two toughest conferences. You finish third, you beat the team that finished second, you lose to the team that finishes first in the regular season, you avenge that loss in the playoffs, you go on the road every week in the playoffs, and you make it to the national championship game, and it just seems that, and I know it doesn't matter to you or any of those guys in the locker room, it just seems like everybody just views this, or a lot of people view this as a fait accompli, that Montana State going to win a national championship. And I think there's a lot of, oversight of what this Redbird team can do, especially offensively. I turn on the tape and it's kind of like, you look at other defenses and you go, pick your poison, stop the run. We'll just pass it through you. And then once you adjust to try to take away the pass, then we're just going to run it down your throats for the rest of the football game, and vice versa. It just seems that, is there anything around this team that has a little bit of that Dorito on their shoulder, that chip on their shoulder heading into this game going, hey, we've been underdogs, undercounted, looked past by media and other people so much. Let's go prove a point and try to win a national championship in 60 minutes of football.
Tommy Rittenhouse. He refuses to let his team think anything less than that, and he's a really, and we have really good leadership because he's not the only one, but he refuses to lose, and I would say that would be the guy, and but we have a lot of our leadership is amongst our team, because when you have a really good team when no one cares who gets the credit for winning, and these kids don't care; they just want to win, and they want to do the right thing, And Sapkowitz is a quiet leader. We have good leaders on defense that are some of them are younger guys, but some are juniors and seniors, and I just think this team is. It's cliche, but it's true. This team is, kind of leads itself. They police themselves. They correct themselves. they'll have a little meeting that they don't do the team meeting thing too often, but they will. I have a leadership council, and I don't have to call them together. They take care of it themselves. So so you got a lot of that, and they got a lot invested in the program right now, and in this football team. So I think they're going to be it'll be a tough out.
Coach, yeah, I followed you guys, and I think you got a fantastic team, and you got a great quarterback, you got a great running back. You're a great coach, great staff. Talk to me a little bit about the guys up front, because when I look at y'all's offensive line, I think that the first word that comes to my mind is wow. So tell me a little bit about the guys up front that make it happen for you, please.
Really like them. On both sides of the ball, but we had a couple of new guys that came in, a couple of guys that hadn't been starters that have been here for a while that have ended up being really good players for us. Jake Pope, our left tackle, he was a right tackle. Our left tackle went down, I think halfway through the season and broke his leg, and he's out jogging now. He's pestering me. His name is Brandon Smith, and he's a really good player. You'll be talking about him next year, but he said, I can go in, I can play in this game. You can't play, bro. You're about 2 months away. So he is, but I think Pope has done a really good job. Not too many guys will move as, I don't know, this is his 7th year. I mean, he's been in school. He's probably almost as old as I am. But he's done a really good job. Like our a kid named Jellison, who's played guard and center, was kind of a journeyman rotational guy. That's ended up being a really good. Our center got banged up, and he went and played for him. Our guard got banged up and went and played back to guard. Now he's playing both spots, and he's just been really a good player for us, and he's done a fantastic job. So he's good. So they got they're grit. They're tough. I think we're size. Got good size, pretty good athletes up front for FCS team, and we'll they'll fight and compete. I think, and at least they've shown that all year, and I don't think Monday night will be any different. But I really like them. They're not flashy. They're not too many people talk about them, but you don't run like you said. You don't run the football like that without a good front. And your quarterback, I know he's a good athlete and all that, but he doesn't get hit very often, and he's only taken a couple real shots all year, and good for us because Tommy's not a real big guy, and we got to be able to protect him, and this front has done a really good job, and I don't think I'm like you. I don't think they get enough credit, and that's where I build a football team from inside out, and that's how we did it at when I was in the Big Ten. When I was on defense, we really stressed defensive linemen, and I had some. We were known as the den of defensive ends over there, and we've had some here that have been really good defensive ends, and so our fronts are there's a lot of effort put into recruiting and developing our fronts. So that's kind of the key. And if you're gonna, and lo and behold, when I got into Missouri Valley, that's what this league is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a good front on either side of the football, you're gonna be exposed, and you get exposed pretty badly when you have bad days. And so that's my philosophy is to build the football team from inside out. Now, obviously, having been at a place that had 3 or 4 Heisman Trophy finalists, I know the quarterback position, and everybody knows that. Everybody gets that, right? But the quarterback can't play when he's on his behind, So, so we got.
He's frozen. Coach Spack's frozen. Well, yeah, he can tell he loves to talk. There he is, Coach. We got you back.
All right.
Yeah, you froze just a little bit. Well,
I got it. My phone. I had my phone was running out of power, so I had to get up and plug it back in. Apologize.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We're gonna get Mike Williams to get you a nice stand so you can you can talk with your hands.
I don't know if I just not a technology guy. Everybody's tried, and I just they've all failed.
Coach, with a mustache like that, you could be whatever kind of guy you get you like. That's one of the best mustaches going in this country in this football league.
Coach, I also wanted to ask you. Obviously you got a big game coming up here in a little while, and when you turn on the tape and you look at Montana State, tell me what you see or what you think about your opponent.
A team from the Dakotas, it's kind of what they look like, especially North Dakota State. Their head coach is from there and has experience there, and they're big and they're physical and they're well coached and they're good up front. They build their program from inside out as well, and you can tell they're really good up front. And obviously the quarterback is good. They had a great one last year. They got a really, really good one right now, and I really like their backs. Their backs are downhill runners. They're big people. They're going to be a handful for our guys to get on the ground. And so they're not these little scat back types. I mean, these are power runners, and they have enough speed. They're both really good players. Obviously, the Dollar kid's a great player, and they have plenty of receivers, plenty of options there, and quarterback can run. Defense is, I'm a defensive guy, and I always respect people that don't do a lot, because if that means they're really good and they're really confident in how they play. I had a friend of mine that was an O-line coach at Illinois, and an O-line coach that coached for me was his GA. He said he always asked Spack. He goes, when we played against him, he goes, was he doing it much? And I said, no, he's not doing much. He said, oh, crap, that means they're really good. And that's really true, though. I mean, that's so true. And that because the better you are, the less you do, and when you're good on defense and you rely on your system and your and your players. And that's what they do. They're very well coached, and they're really just a really good unit, similar to what University of Iowa is. Iowa doesn't play they don't play a bunch of coverages. They don't blitz a lot. They're just really good at quarter halves, and they're under defense. They'll their three technique is kind of a heavy shaded guy, and he kind of two gaps, and they're just really good at what they do, and they're hard to beat, and so you have to beat them, and they don't make mistakes. So that's what it looks like to me. I mean, I see a really good team. They have really good kicking game. Dollar's a really good returner, and they have a lot of weapons. They can score a lot of different ways, but I really like their toughness and their downhill running game. If you can't put me on the spot, I really like that part of them a lot.
Well, Coach, one of the things that we're excited about is this is a different kind of championship. Montana State, yeah, they've been there before, but North Dakota State, out. South Dakota State, out. Illinois State's coming in and getting a lot of this new attention. What's it been like for your program being on the road and now getting this national attention, playing Montana State at Nashville? It's got to be a great feeling to know that you're accomplishing something with these young men that you've been working with all year long. What's this journey kind of been like here in the last few weeks?
It's been awesome. I'm having a great time. Me personally, and I can tell our coaching staff is having a really good time, and because these kids are fun to coach, and I'm sure Montana State coaches will say the same thing. When you get this far, you're coaching great kids, and they're good players, and they love football, and it's been awesome. We've been through this before. Back in 2014, and the 15 championship game was in January, and so I've done it before. But I thought we had a really good team here in 20, maybe arguably some of the most talented teams I've had, and we never played, because of COVID, and so we had to rebuild. COVID was tough for us, but I was in a position where I could take my time, and we could take our time and build it the right way, get the right coaches here, the right players that fit us, and not take shortcuts. And here we are. We're back with an unlikely team, maybe this team, but I thought we were going to be pretty good when we started the season.
Yeah.
And we got it all together at the end. And when the most important time, it's kind of like you say in the basketball tournament, you just got to get in the tournament, and we got in the tournament, and who knows what could happen. And we played really well. So been great.
Coach,
Yes.
my last thing for you, going into this game, you talked about, how Montana State's defense is really good. You got a really good defense too, and they're well coached. Credit to the head coach, who's a defensive guy as well, going in there. I just want to know from your perspective, you have a lot of games that you could pull from this year. I mean, you played John Mateer, Oklahoma early in the year. He played North Dakota State twice. UC Davis has, I don't want to say a similar quarterback, but the skill set is can translate there. And you have every Montana State game if you so choose to go back and look for. How much of it is, we know what we know, we are who we are, we don't want to suffer from, paralysis by analysis, versus, hey, we got to grind specifically for this Montana State offense, because it seems like a lot of what you guys do defensively is instinctual, because it is so well coached and is so ingrained in a lot of these guys that they're rarely too far out of position. The ends know, when to contain and when to collapse and when to get that rush and maybe sacrifice giving up the contain to do it. It just seems like they play so well in unison.
Yeah, I mean, our staff has done a great job. I hired Travis Niekamp here a couple of years ago. He came from Montana, actually, University of Montana, but he's a player here, and he's done a really good job. He understands the 3-4. I started dabbling with that when I was a coordinator a little bit, and I was a 4-3 guy that morphed into a 3-4. We had those dynamic outside backer defensive end types, what we call a jack, and we were able to, get in and out of fronts pretty easily. And I coordinated here for a couple of years, and I kind of was really enamored with it. And Talked to Jim Leonard quite a bit up at Wisconsin, and did a couple, state clinics up there, and then we able to, find out some of the things he did and incorporate some of those things. But Travis has brought a good knowledge of the 3-4. I think we have answers, I think, and it's just we have to be able to execute. We can't do too much. That's my mantra with our staff is don't do too much. It's not what it's what those players know, and you gotta and we have some things we can go to that help us against most teams. And you're right. This is a similar. The U Davis offense is really, really good, and these guys are similar, but they're a little different in that they have a power running game, a downhill running game that's really impressive. But they're going to be a handful. But what we should, we have things we think should work, but we think we can play our base defense and play against anything and make it work. And Montana State, I'll guarantee, is the same way. Because you watch them play, and that's what good defenses do. And that's what our mantra was. I'd rather see you throw things out than to add as coaches as we go through the week, as we go through the season. And let's hone in on what we are. Let's hone in on us. Not necessarily opponent, but on us. What do we do well, and what can we execute? And I think we found a few things that we've been pretty good at lately. So.
Well,
I
Coach,
hope that helps us in this game, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we sure will. And Coach, what a joy it has been talking to you, just picking your brain. You are just an old school kind of football coach, black and white or in color, it doesn't matter. You just got a great football mind. Really appreciate you taking the time during this championship week to talk to us and talk to the fans about this Illinois State program. We're excited about it. We think it's going to be a great football game. Forget what the numbers may be saying in Vegas. I really think this is going to be a great football game. We look forward to it. We wish you all the best. A healthy, safe trip down to Nashville. Great football game, and we do wish you a very happy new year in 2026.
And a happy birthday.
And
the championship game is on his birthday.
And I'm not going to forget it. Mike Williams might forget, but we're not going to forget, Coach.
I wish you would, but that's okay. But I know it's a sidebar, right? Side story, but yeah, it's we stop counting those, when we get to a certain age.
Amen. Amen.
Gatorade shower, cake to the face.
It would be a great day. It would be awesome.
Well, thank you.
Wouldn't forget that birthday.
Hey, no kidding. Well, wish you do get your birthday wish. And thank you again so much for joining us, Coach. It's been awesome. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Have a good rest of your week, and see you down in Nashville.
Absolutely. That is the head coach of Illinois State, Coach Brock Spack. The RedBirds are going to be facing Montana State in that national championship. Wow. Yeah. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
Real talk. I kind of felt like we was keeping him from spitting in a cup.
Yeah. Maybe. You know what? And he obviously loves to talk and loves to talk football. We got another guy that loves to talk football. It's our special guest, Tyler Gall, joining us. He's a Illinois State, I can say Illinois State fan or follower. Tyler, thank you for taking the time to join the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I'm actually
very patient, by the way. Thank you so much.
I'm actually a student at Illinois State. I actually
Wonderful.
write for the school's newspaper, the Daily Vedette. I've covered the team pretty much all season, a couple of games here and there, but it's been a joy to definitely see how they've picked up their progress over the last couple of games, and they look really good.
Well, what has it been like on campus? I see a couple people are asking in the chat, hey, Illinois State better show up. Their fans better show up. They need this, to come out because Montana State, they're going to show up. What's it been like on campus? I know it's mid-majors and FCS. It's a little bit different atmosphere, but student newspaper, what's it been like there on campus?
Well, it's definitely been the buzz has definitely been really, really good.
Great.
Obviously, a small school like that, it's going to be, a little bit hard to come by, but our students have really been really supportive of it. They always show out at games. So that's not really a big issue, but usually I think those couple playoff games, the bars down there definitely were pretty packed for those last couple games, but I think just the overall vibe around the town has just been absolutely phenomenal. Social media, everyone's been great, and I think they appreciate the $50 student tickets that the school offered.
Nice.
And I know a lot of people jumped on that too. So we'll have a decent crowd heading down to Nashville. I think it'll be a great time for everybody.
Wonderful. So tell me your thought. You've got a chance to, I assume you cover sports for the newspaper, hopefully. Tell me about what your journey's been like watching this team and how you have seen it grow, develop, and face these challenges, these road games. What's it been like as a fan?
It's definitely been interesting because kind of starting the season, it's been up and down season. I mean, they lost to Oklahoma, obviously, by 30. Yeah, was it? Yeah, 30 or
it was a
33.
Lot.
Yeah, it was a rough loss. I think everybody kind of knew
32.
that going into it. And then, and then you head back home, you take on Morehead State, obviously a big opener, 41-13. But it's just been up and down the whole season. And as a student journalist, been able to. I was actually at the Northern Alabama double overtime game to cover that 6-hour game coverage with 2 weather delays in it, and a double overtime win. So that was a very, very interesting day. But I think that point on, it just seemed like everything just kind of turned around for them, and it seems like they definitely got their click back during that double overtime game. But obviously they've looked really impressive, and I'm really excited to see what they bring on Monday.
One of the things that we've got a chance to enjoy is those stories, Tommy Rittenhouse and Rinkers Wright. But Victor Dawson is a running back that I think doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he's got over 1,000 yards rushing. He's done such a fantastic job there in the backfield. What do you see from this offense? What's something you enjoy as a fan watching this Illinois State RedBirds?
I'll tell you what, the connection between Tommy Rittenhouse and Daniel Sopkowitz is something that I think everybody should appreciate. I think a lot of people overlook Daniel Sopkowitz, and I think that he should probably be a big name heading into the NFL draft, if that's crazy to say. I think he can definitely make a name for himself. But just watching Rittenhouse and Sopkowitz, that connection throughout the year has been absolutely dominant. Victor Dawson's also had a really good playoff. He had 512 rushing yards in these past 4 games. But those 3 right there just kind of turn you up on offense, and I think they really have a chance to show everybody why that connection is just so special on Monday.
So let me ask you: you go on the road and you beat North Dakota State. What's the vibe like on campus? How long did it take how long did y'all celebrate? How long did it take to hit the reset button to know that we got another game going on? Tell me what that was like.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was actually at home for the first half of that game, and then I went to our student rec center after that and was walking the track while I was watching the game on my phone. And as soon as that last 4 seconds hit, I was running around the track as fast as I could, to say the least. But it's just been phenomenal. I think that game was, I mean, we're talking about a team that has won 10 titles in the 2010s and up until now. It's just, they're so dominant, and it was just a huge win for us. And I think that a win like that will definitely keep a spark going. Obviously, there's going to be some haters. Oh, luck was in the air. But no, I think just the overall vibe around Normal was great. I actually walked out of the student center and was wondering why the town was still standing. I don't know why not celebrating more. But yeah, it was definitely a very fun day.
5 interceptions, luck ain't on your side. That is grinding it and grinding it and grinding. I was going to ask Coach Spack, who was the first one to see Tommy after that 5th interception to see, coming off the field, but he explained it pretty well. He's a resilient kid. Have you got a chance to sit down with any of these players or in this coaching staff and talk to them about this run here as the Road Warriors continue through this playoffs?
Not personally, but today I did sit in the FCS media press conference, and it was interesting to hear their takes on how their defense has really stepped up in these playoff games and how the road battles have continued to be something that they just have to overcome. And I actually asked Coach Spack just a little while ago on that press conference what he thought the momentum would be like heading into a almost a neutral site at Vanderbilt, and he just looked at it as it would be the same thing as everything that he's played so far.
Yeah.
So I think they'll have a lot of fans traveling down, so that'll definitely help them. But just being on the road, 4 victories on the road is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for getting through it all.
Well, Tyler, let's go ahead and talk about what you see out of Montana State. How do you think this game's going to go? And if you want to throw out a prediction score, you're welcome to do that. If not, I want to put you on the spot. But what do you see from Montana State from Illinois State's perspective?
Well, I think we've heard it a lot all week. I think how Coach Spack has really compared them to North Dakota State. And I think he's right. I think their offense is really dominant. There's a lot of sides to them that really compared to North Dakota State. I don't know if I can really give you a prediction. I'd have to kind of do a little bit more research on them. But I think in terms of their offense is really good. I've heard their quarterback is very, very skilled. He's very level-headed, and I think that'll be a very big test for the defense on Monday. But as far as Illinois State goes, I think that they will definitely be tested defensively and offensively. Our special teams unit has been really good this season, and I think that if they can stick together and band together, I think that it'll be a really good game and hopefully a really close outcome.
Yeah, and one of the things that my concern for Illinois State is special teams. They've allowed 6 blocked kicks on the season. That is a very, very a high number. But they do have Chris Taylor who's returning kicks, and he's done a fantastic job. You talk about flipping the field. What do you think a key to victory is for Illinois State?
I think just getting out early. I think avoiding a slow start will definitely help them a little bit. And obviously making your kicks right. I think 6 block kicks is staggering. I mean, that is just, that just can't happen. You have to have all your points, and I feel like just getting going early is definitely going to be on their side, I hope.
One thing that Illinois State really does well is their discipline. They don't give up a lot of penalties, and they force turnovers. I think that's probably going to be a key. Brandon or Coach Jackson, you got anything before we let Tyler on his way?
I got one more question for Tyler. For somebody who doesn't follow Illinois State the way you do and the way we do, give me a sleeper player, either on offense or defense, or give me a sleeper team. Is it the kickoff team? Is it the kickoff return? Is it the punt return? Give me something that we know about Tommy Ritten. We know about all the stars. Give me somebody that I don't know about that you think will make a difference in the game.
Well, we all know about Daniel Sobkowitz, but I think another guy that gets overlooked is Luke Maylander, another wide receiver that we have. He had 659 yards throughout the season. He's played really well throughout the playoffs. And I also think that who was that? But I'll just stick with him. Luke Maylander definitely is a player to watch for sure. He's done really well, and I think that he really holds his line really strong.
Yeah, I think Dylan Lord also is a player to watch. Tyler, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for the chats and the follows and stuff on X. I really do appreciate it. We look forward to this football game. I don't think this is going to be a pushover. So best of luck to you there at Illinois State. Are you coming down for the game?
I will be in Nashville covering the game. Yep.
Outstanding. Well, best of luck.
I live in Nashville. I live in Nashville. If you need any help, if you want to know where to go or where not to go, holler at me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I can promise you,
don't go to the Parthenon. Don't waste your money.
I can promise you he's going to try and direct you to some place that serves ham biscuits. So I'll just let that put that out.
I'll take you up on that.
Tyler, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Best of luck, safe travels, and seriously, best of luck in that football game as well. Hopefully, Illinois State has a good showing. So best of luck.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on. All
right, that's Tyler Gall, the Illinois State representation. Very, very excited. Did a great job talking about Illinois State. Listen, I always tell people say, well, how do you get into broadcasting, whatever, in college or high school? I say, write for your student newspaper. Do your student media. It is so important to get that experience at that level. And most college papers pay you per article. So make a little folding money and write for their newspaper. I think it's a huge start for your career. Coach Jackson needs to make a list of do's and don't eats while downtown Nashville. It was in the chat. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and just talk about this team, this football team. Brandon, Tommy Rittenhouse, Sopkowitz, Victor Dawson. I think the offensive pieces are there for them to be able to put up a lot of points, but this Montana State defense is very, very good. Just your thoughts on Illinois State's offense and what Coach Spack brought to the interview.
Yeah, do you have any AI generated graphics that's going to get us murdered in the comments?
As a matter of
I want
fact,
to get that out of the way now.
As a matter of fact, their offensive summary is
okay. No players that don't look like the actual players.
No. We've got this guy right here. By the way, you guys absolutely grilled me, the Montana State folks. I got the Caucasian and the African American folks mostly right. But here,
Daniel Sopkowitz would have came out a brother. That would have been great.
Well, yeah, there you go. This is your offense for the RedBirds, Brandon. Yeah, tell me what you think. Good Lord.
No, I think for them it's going to be, and Tyler kind of, was on the right track. I firmly believe they need to come out with some tempo and pace to start this game. They cannot afford to have, punt back and forth between these two teams. I don't think that plays into the hand of the RedBirds. I think for them, tempo is going to be key. And I think Coach Jackson talked about it a little bit earlier before I sorted out my internet here in lovely Braselton, Georgia to hop on. I think, for Illinois State, it's going to have to be a tempo game. They can use that to that advantage, especially early on. And it's not always going up tempo. It's alternating tempo. You can get to the line and wait and kind of, as long as you're limiting Montana State's ability to substitute, you want to keep the same 11 on the field for the Bobcats. As long as you can, because eventually they'll stop getting that push up front with that 4-2-5 defense. Maybe, eventually, play 4-5-6 of having some tempo there. A linebacker will line up maybe a little bit deeper, or he'll cheat up a little bit more to try to, hedge for a little bit tired, or he thinks he knows where the play is going. And then you have the ability, because you have, such a knowledge under center and Rittenhouse, that he can see what's going on, and maybe that can open up a run lane, that can open up a pass lane. I think there's going to be some check with me's coming to the line of scrimmage, but they can use that tempo. And there's a giant misconception of, tempo always means going fast. No, sometimes it's going fast enough, then going slow, and getting those guys, maybe to jump off sides, because you think you're going to be in a tempo situation. You think they're going to go on first, call, because they have been, and using that tempo that way. And then you get an extra or an easy 5 yards on a, 2nd and 4 that keeps the drive moving on a first down. So for Illinois State, if they can use that tempo to stay ahead of schedule and keep it in first and, second and manageable, from there on, I think that could be huge for them, especially early in the game, to get up 7, maybe 10 points if you trust the kicking game. I think Montana State is more than happy letting this game feel out from a defensive standpoint. And the worst thing you want to be in a situation where, Montana State can pin their ears back and just throw caution in the wind and try to get home on the quarterback.
Yeah, Coach Jackson, in the chat, someone mentions Sopkowitz as a pro prospect. He's a big kid, 6'3", 205 pounds, great hands. I think he's probably got a potential. I think speed and that explosion off the line and kind of beating a defender might be a question mark. I just don't know. That can be worked out in some type of combine or something. But I think Sopkowitz has got the size and obviously the talent to be a pro prospect. But also in the chat is Illinois State needs to play 4 quarters game. You can't turn the ball over 5 times. You can't allow block kicks, and you certainly can't hurt yourself in penalties. So your thoughts here with Illinois State's offense?
Well, first of all, I kind of feel the need to remind our audience. I'm from the South. I really can't let the facts get in the way of a good story or anything like that. Most of the things I'm going to be off maybe a year or something like that, because I think I said earlier, Illinois State didn't make the playoffs last year. Well, hell, I meant the year before that is what I was talking about.
Of course.
So, right. So anyway, with that said, Illinois State's offense, I believe, I'm like Brandon. I believe that their key to success is controlling the ball. This could be one of the shortest championship games in modern history, because both teams are going to run the ball. Both of them don't make a whole lot of mistakes. I think another positive for Illinois State is they don't make many mistakes. So they're rarely behind the chains. They're with their particular running game, they're going to be 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1, in an opportunity where they can control the clock. Uh, the other thing that they do very well is they control the tempo with a primarily running based attack. A lot of people don't recognize that, but like Brandon said, there's a lot of ways that they'll be able to turn that ship or keep that tide going in their particular direction. As far as Sopkowitz on
Yeah.
being a pro, listen, they've got. I mean, I don't know what his draft potential is or anything like that, but I can't imagine that kid's not in the camp somewhere. He's got
Yeah.
tremendous hands. He runs tremendous routes. He's a super smart kid. He works hard. He comes from a fantastic program, a fantastic coach. I can see a lot of people being able to use him. Now, he may not be a wide receiver. They might put 25 pounds on him or so and make him into a tight end because he would be very problematic at
Yeah.
that position, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he's got I think he's got a chance.
Yeah,
We'll
he's
turn-
a slot guy. I think
Yeah.
at the next level, at least to start. And that's not a disrespect to him. I think, if you can match him up on a third corner, if you can get him matched up on a linebacker, advantage, Desopkowitz. I mean, that's not a thing. I think he could be very versatile at that next level. You mentioned, a tight end, an H-back scenario too, with a lot of these teams just want athletes on the field in various different spots to try to create those mismatches. I definitely, I don't know if his name will get called. Who knows at the back end of the draft? Those things get very convoluted, very crazy there. But
Who
he'll
doesn't
be
need a
on.
possession receiver? In the
Yeah,
NFL, who doesn't need a possession type receiver? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
and that's gonna be a huge thing, especially with this game in Nashville. I think there's going to be a lot more regional eyes on it. I mean, there wasn't that crazy big of a draw to Frisco, I think, for a lot of NFL scouts, especially given the time that all these games are going on. Nashville's a very easy and convenient place. And when you think about, the saturation of teams in the Southeast, that's going to be easy to get to Nashville. You have the Titans, the Falcons, the Saints, all these teams within a very quick distance to get there. I think there's going to be a couple more NFL scouts and regional scouts eyes on this game.
Are
Well,
they
let's-
not doing an FCS type combine or an NFL pro day or something
They
like
are
that?
doing some. This year will
Yeah,
be the
I think
first.
Sopkowitz will be an NFL combine guy. I think he'll get
yeah, I hope
invited
so.
to the big one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Hey, let's turn our focus to the defense real quick. We got about 8 minutes left. Aggressive, hard-hitting style. This is a team that can force turnovers. They were, number in interceptions. They were passes interception. They had 19 or third in the nation in interceptions with 19. This is a team that can turn the ball over, force turnovers, get you out on third down. Their defense is full of talented athletes. And I really believe Ty Niekamp is a player that we've got a chance to talk about a little bit. Buka, what's his name? Oh gosh, it's Shadwell Kuba. Yeah, Shadwell Kuba. Also, LaShavion Brown. They've got some really, really great defensive players. And here, this is not them, so I don't want to hear about it, but this is what their numbers and their shirts look like. Ty Niekamp in that linebacker position. Kuba. Garrett Stephen is a second linebacker. He leads the team in quarterback hurries and sacks. I mean, they do a really good job on defense. Again, lots of talent there, and I'm looking forward to all the chat about how none of those players look like they're supposed to. But defensively, you're going to be coming up against an offense that Justin Lamson, you were talking about Coach Jackson yesterday. You got to put a number on him. He can run. He's very, very a threat on the ground and through the air. Don't underestimate his arm. What do you think, Brandon, this defense needs to do well in order to compete against Montana State's offense?
Rule number one, make them one-dimensional. If
Yeah.
you want to turn them into a runner, then make sure you cover well, and then you can rally. They got a lot of guys who I think, the underrated portion of these guys is their tackling. They tackle really well, and when they don't make the one-on-ones, they're very good about, help and rally. I think that's a big thing for the Redbirds. I think what they do well in their front is, and kind of touch on it what Coach Spack is, they're able to get pressure, but they're also able to keep containment. So if they're able to do that against Lamson, they're going to force his escape to be up the middle. I will take that any day of the week, especially if I do have to spy with him. He's running right into a body.
Yeah.
The thing I don't want to do is let him get around the outside and be able to create in space that way. Montana State will do a lot of running guys deep, even though they're not the intended targets, just to kind of create that space underneath for a running back for a check down, or their receiver, Taco Dowler. They'll do a lot of that as well. So you have to get that pressure up there and have it be smart pressure, be intelligent pressure, and then that second level be able to come in and support and not have them out of position. So if they're able to do that defensively, then effectively you eliminate Lamson from a running third, or you minimize. You're not going to ever eliminate that. You're going to minimize that and force him to stand up and have to read the field and force the ball in places that maybe that he's not comfortable to keep drives alive and keep drives going. So I think it's not going to be an every down thing necessarily, but you got to have it on critical downs, and that may not always be third down. It may be a second down that you decide to dial up some pressure to make it third and long in situations like that. So I think the versatility of this Redbird defense will have to be on display.
Well, and Coach Jackson, I think a turnover, a special teams play, or something to give you some additional offensive plays for Illinois State, I think is going to be important. What's a key statistic you think that they need to do well on Monday to compete overall against Montana State?
Well, you heard what Coach Spack said. He said that he would rather take away than add. So you're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see exotic blitzes or anything like that. Like what Brandon said, I think that they're going to compress the pocket. You know what I mean? And if you compress the pocket on the quarterback, he's on to his second and third read, which again you should have 7 or 8 people or 6, 7 people drop back, so you get some turnovers. To me, I think the statistic that's going to matter the most is getting off the field on fourth down.
Yeah.
I think the biggest statistic is how well if they're able to hold Montana State less than 50% third down conversions. I think that's a key to their success in the championship game.
One thing that I'll mention here before we wrap up is this Illinois State team, number 1 in the nation in first down offense. That means they're moving the ball at a clip that holds on to it, draws first downs, whether it be by penalty, by rushing, by passing. They're getting it done and getting those first downs. I think that if you can keep the ball and keep just matriculating the ball down the field, I think you got a great chance at winning. Well, it's been a great show. We really appreciate chat. See some new faces and some new names in the chat. We've had over 30 people watching live, so please do like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell. It'll alert you when we are on go live. We will plan to do one more show before the national championship game, probably on Sunday, where we do a little preview, probably a short one since we've had two shows back to back. But really do appreciate Coach Spack, we'll call him Coach Williams, SID Mike Williams joining the show, Tyler Gall as well. What a joy it is talking to these head coaches, Coach Jackson. I mean, we get to follow them all year long, and here we go. Down to one game. Just your final thoughts to wrap up the show.
You know, I should ask him, maybe the next time we get him on, I should ask him, we've got a mutual friend, Danny Hope, that I believe he played for. So I wish I could have got a good Danny Hope story out of him before he left. But, anyway, outside of that, I'm looking forward to a great game.
Brandon, how about you?
Not many people get to have both of the head coaches of the national championship game on back-to-back, things like that. So credit, again, to you guys, Coach and Nathan, the fans. You guys are what drive this. And, It's so much fun, and you love talking ball with these guys.
I guarantee you they take a look-see and see 700, 800 viewers on an episode, and they're like, oh, they're touching people. They're not touching people, but you know what I'm saying. They're not. They're reaching. Dang it.
Or these guys know ball.
We love ball. We especially love. Oh God. Okay, here we go. All right, especially FCS football. Kyler mentions in the chat predictions. We'll do our predictions during a preview show on Sunday. So look for that. We'll put a little preview out there on X. Thank you guys again for making it great. The chat's been awesome. You guys have been great. Brandon, thank you again for getting the internet fixed. Once again, thank you, Coach Spack. Thank you, Coach Mike Williams. Thank you, Tyler Gall. For Brandon Joseph, I'm Nathan McCreary. For Coach Ron Jackson, this has been the FCS Checkdown. We'll see you Sunday night on our preview show of the championship and do our predictions. You guys have been awesome. This has been the FCS Checkdown. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you.